Hi, good morning, everyone. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. If you want to stand over on this one, that's fine. All right, good morning. I am here today with representatives from our unions. Representing Fire Rescue is Joe Greco. Representing the Tampa Police Benevolent Association is Jimmy Owens. And then we have Steve Simons, who represents the ATU. Also, my good friend, Dr. Jason Wilson from Tampa General Hospital. So as many of you know, this Delta variant has hit our city very hard. We are doing testing. We set up 2 testing sites, one at Al Lopez, the other one at Al Barnes Park. And so far, the response has been a 21% positivity rate in the city of Tampa. As you all know, Florida is leading the nation with the COVID outbreaks as well. And as Dr. Wilson will tell you, and all of the other physicians and medical professionals that I talk with on a regular basis, say that if you have not been vaccinated, you have somewhere in the range of a 100% chance of contracting the COVID virus. So that's pretty high odds. So what we are here today to talk about is requiring vaccination for city employees. We met with the unions. We talked about this. Clearly there are details that will have to be negotiated out, but as it stands right now, September 30th is the date that we are looking at to have all of our city employees, our personnel, safely vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, clearly there will be some options in there. Individuals that have not been vaccinated will be required to wear an N95 mask and be tested for COVID once a week, and they will have to show those test results each week. Also, individuals who take an antibody test and show that they have antibodies will also, that will suffice for the vaccination as well. So we are looking at options. We will continue to talk to our unions about those issues that need to be negotiated. I clearly understand individuals talking about their level of personal freedom. I spent over 3 decades defending our Constitution, upholding our Constitution out in our community, ensuring that individuals had those rights that are outlined in the Constitution. But if we did not require vaccines, we would still have polio, we would still have measles. Kids are required to take certain vaccines before they even enter school. This particular vaccine has been proven to be safe. I think it's 375 million doses have been given in the United States alone. And all indications are that it is a safe vaccine. There are individuals that have had responses, negative responses to it, but the majority of individuals who have died from COVID, not the majority, almost all individuals who have died from COVID-19 are those that are unvaccinated. So my job is to ensure the health and well-being of our team here in the city, and that's why we're making that decision and we're implementing the COVID-19 vaccine for all of our employees so that we can keep them safe. And talking about the personal freedoms as well, individuals saying that it's their decision if they get vaccinated. How about the freedom of their coworkers, the people that are sitting next to them who have been vaccinated and may have comorbidities, and COVID-19 can be a life-threatening issue for them. They have rights as well. So I think that this decision may not be the most popular, but it is the right thing to do for all of our employees. Doctor?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a couple of clinical and scientific remarks regarding where we are with COVID right now and also with vaccination. For those of you who don't know, we continue to see a high volume of patients coming in with COVID and really still sitting at double the numbers of our last peak right now in our hospital. About 250 patients on any given day right now are admitted to the hospital. About 85 to 90% of those patients are unvaccinated. Most of the vaccinated patients that we're seeing in the hospital are really transplant patients or people with significant immunosuppression. So what we do know is if we want to move past those high numbers, we need to get vaccinated. We've seen really good evidence that these vaccines work. I know there's a lot of confusing messaging out there right now around whether the vaccines are working or whether they're effective. The vaccines are working. The vaccines are effective. What we are starting to see are some numbers of patients who might have asymptomatic or less mild or less severe symptoms, patients with breakthrough cases of COVID. Now, we would have less of those if more of us were vaccinated. You also may see data out there about maybe we need to get another dose or another booster. That's great. That's fine for people like me who've already vaccinated, but that's not going to move us past this mess. The only way we get past this mess is by all of us going out to get vaccinated. What you're seeing around that data are, again, more asymptomatic or breakthrough cases, not necessarily hospitalization. Really important data coming out this week from Los Angeles from the CDC showing at least a 5-fold increase in protection against even getting the Delta variant or any variant of COVID that we know of so far if you're vaccinated compared to not vaccinated. What we also know is the risk of being put on a ventilator or being put into the ICU is about 25 times higher for the unvaccinated patient who gets COVID compared to the vaccinated patient who gets COVID. Vaccines keep us out of the hospital. Vaccines allow our healthcare systems to work. Vaccines allow our city to function. Vaccines allow us to have the freedom to move about. This is why these vaccines are so important. There's been enough time that we know about the safety around these vaccines. Most vaccines that have had any issues, those issues have come up very quickly after vaccine release. This vaccine has been out in studies since at least over a year ago. It's been out with emergency use authorization now since December, and now is FDA approved. Like the mayor said, millions of doses of this vaccine given, very few serious side effects, very, very few, in the 100 to 200 range compared to the millions and millions of people who've had this vaccine and the thousands and thousands of lives saved. So this is the only way we're going to move past this mess. There's no magic formula here. It's vaccination, just like we've done with polio, smallpox, meningitis, mumps, measles. Everything else we've moved past as a society, we've done through vaccination and public health campaigns. So that's the scientific remarks, and I'll turn it back over to the mayor now. Thank you.
All right, we will go ahead and open it up to questions.
Mayor, who does this include exactly in terms of, does it include contract workers who do work with the city? Does it include retired officers who do extra duty work as police officers? So who does this encompass?
It encompasses all of our full-time employees here at the city of Tampa. We don't have control over contractors. Those are discussions that we can have with them, but we wouldn't be able to mandate it for them.
So this will include police and fire as well?
Correct.
Okay.
And what happens if somebody doesn't?
Those are the kind of things that we will deal with as they come up. I think that there's a lot of misinformation, as the doctor has said, out there about this vaccination. It is safe. It has proven to be safe. It has saved so many lives, and people continue to die every day needlessly. I believe the number is close to 1,000 people dying each day from COVID-19. With a vaccine in place, that's unnecessary. So we are hoping that everyone will see the value in this. I know that some people are on the fence about the vaccination, and maybe this will nudge them over. Other individuals may just have a fear of that vaccine, and hopefully this too will nudge them over. I'm not naive enough to think that there aren't going to be people that are going to be adamantly against this, and we will deal with those individuals. As I said too, there are options here.
So would those individuals be then terminated?
We're not going to talk about termination. That's not going to happen. Our City of Tampa team is a great team, and we're going to work with individuals who feel that this vaccine is not in their best interest.
Mayor Castor, this seems to conflict with Governor DeSantis' position on on mandates and other things. Have you spoken to the governor or his people, and have you had any reaction from his office?
No, I have not spoken to the governor.
Any reaction from the governor since it was announced earlier today?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mayor, how many city employees have been vaccinated as opposed to those who haven't?
That's an issue too, is that we don't have accurate data. And now, even before when we were getting the data each and every day, it was so helpful, even though there were some inaccuracies in it. Now we only get it once a week, so it's difficult to see what those trends are. But our estimation is around 40%.
Mayor, how big of an issue, and this may be also a question for the union leaders here, how big of an issue has COVID been for city workers? We've had a lot of people falling out and missing a lot of work.
Yes, it's been a huge issue. It's been a huge burden for our workforce. Individuals that have contracted COVID, individuals who have had to be quarantined because of it. Very, very large numbers. That's another step that we're taking since the schools have opened. We have all seen those dramatic increases, not only in the COVID cases, positivity rate, but also in the quarantine. So what we are doing is opening up locations within the city that city employees will be able to bring their children to if they have been quarantined from school, so that they can continue to work, because that's a burden on the parents. If their children are quarantined, what do? They have to take sick time. So we're doing everything we can to work with our employees to get through this pandemic. We were really making such progress. If we had had, as Dr. Wilson said, more people vaccinated, we probably wouldn't be dealing with this Delta variant, but we are. And if we don't get vaccinated, who knows what the next variant will bring.
Mayor, do you believe this order conflicts with Governor DeSantis' order in any way?
No.
They can coexist?
Yes.
Why?
Well, let me say that's my hope, because it's as I stated before, it's my job to look out for the well-being, the health and well-being of all of our team members here in the city of Tampa. So I need to be able to make those decisions in their best interest.
Mayor, I'm interested if you could maybe answer a question about the antibody testing. I would take it to understand that you would believe that those people would have been previously infected, a natural infection with COVID-19. Is that what you're looking for with that test result?
No, I wouldn't assume anything on the medical level. I could let Dr. Wilson talk about that, but one of the reasons that I made that decision was a lot of people feel that they already had it. They say, I already had it. I had it before the testing came out. So I think that people who believe they have the antibodies take the test, will find that they don't have those antibodies and aren't protected, and will get vaccinated. But Dr. Wilson, do you want to comment on the antibodies?
Sure, I'll just comment to say that the antibody science around COVID is an evolving science. There is a lot of just sort of colloquial belief that perhaps I had a case of COVID back in February or early March, when in reality we probably didn't have cases here until later March of 2020. The antibody testing can be helpful in determining where your current antibody level is. There's different types of antibody testing. There's both antibody testing for virus itself and also for the vaccine itself as well. And those can be differentiated also.
Dr. Wilson, a quick question, if you don't mind, about vaccinations and hospitalizations at TGH. Is there a particular vaccine that may or may not be underperforming with the hospitalizations? We've seen different data about Pfizer, Moderna, J&J is in the news today. Is any vaccine underperforming and more of those people coming to the hospital?
Sure. So what we have seen right now is that any vaccination offers significant protection. The majority of patients who are hospitalized at Tampa General right now either have not been vaccinated or have been vaccinated, likely with one of the mRNA vaccines, because that's what we utilize for our transplant population, and that makes up the majority of unvaccinated patients right now, the transplant patient population, which is what led to that third dose approval by the FDA about 2 weeks ago or so. Now, having said that, we know from some public health data and from epidemiological data that the two mRNA vaccines, the Pfizer and Moderna, probably do offer a little bit more protection than the Janssen adenovirus vaccine, which still offers good protection, but maybe not quite as bit of as much protection as that Pfizer Moderna. So you'll see some third shots here offered to more and more people in the public as we move forward as those authorizations. And you're likely to see another dose of that Janssen vaccine, that J&J vaccine, be offered here sometime soon too. Everybody's kind of waiting for some data about 2 doses of that vaccine right now.
What are the the complications in particular that put people at a higher risk?
For COVID or for vaccination? For COVID, gotcha. So I think it's really important for everybody to understand this. Right now, the biggest risk factor for whether you get hospitalized for COVID or go home with COVID is vaccination status. Last year, right now at this time, it was a combination of diabetes, high blood pressure, overweight, obesity, and age, right? That's what we would calculate to try to figure out if we should hospitalize you or not. Right now, it is vaccination status is the biggest risk factor, so whether you're going to get sick or not sick. Now, once you get sick, those other risk factors also apply, but those are the major risk factors. And then once sick, do you require oxygen or not require oxygen? That becomes kind of the pivotal moment in terms of deciding how things go. But I do want to just quickly say, since you asked the question, I can remind myself to say this. I'm admitting patients to the hospital every day who are very sick, who have not been vaccinated for COVID. I have yet to admit, intubate, or take care of a critically ill patient who is that way because they got vaccinated, because of a vaccine side effect. So risk-benefit ratio here, right? Every day, unvaccinated COVID patients who are very sick never had a significant serious side effect of a vaccine, whether it's this vaccine or any other vaccine, really.
I was wondering if one of the union representatives would be willing to come up and just give some thoughts on this issue here.
No, we're gonna be collective bargaining this issue and the effects of it in the future with the mayor's office, so, right now, we're not gonna go into detail on, on what those, requirements that we may have and what we can work out with the city.
Can you say
All right.
how many employees this is going to fall under?
Yeah, we have about 4,700 employees throughout the city of Tampa in a variety of positions.
And is priority to protect your city employees or to protect anybody that your city employees are around?
All of the above. Thank you, guys.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, if a significant number of people decide that they just can't stay employed with the city, have you guys made contingencies for services and,
No, there's no need to go down that path right now. We're focused on the health and well-being of all of our team members.
Mayor, are you going to provide data of vaccinations, about percentages of city workers are vaccinated after September 30th deadline?
When we can get that information, that's an issue, as I said before, being able to get the data. We can get the data of individuals that were vaccinated at the public sites, but a lot of it if they went to their own physician. So we can work through, or are working through the State Department of Health right now to find out exactly who has and has not been vaccinated and how and if that information can be transferred so that we won't have to individually check cards.
I guess I'm confused, Mayor, so you're going to be requiring vaccinations after September 30th with options to be announced and the other caveats you already mentioned. How are you going to track that people they have to show proof, I think you mentioned.
Yes.
So will you be releasing that data to the public after the 30th of the aggregate numbers of city workers?
Sure, I'm sure that we could release that data as we go along because September 30th is the deadline, and as we go along, we could release that information. Right now, I estimated 40% of our employees have been vaccinated, and that clearly is an estimation because there's no hard data on that at this point.
is it September 30th, is that where they have to have their
Yes.
first shot?
No,
Or
both.
They
Both.
have to have had both and they're 2 weeks or 3 weeks after
Yes.
the second, so you're requiring that they go out there and do this now?
Right, that's our hope, is that individuals that haven't been vaccinated will do so right away. Thank you, guys.